Hey everyone. So I got a good question from a friend online, which I'm gonna talk about in this video. I have a question over here on the screen that you can't see. They say, "Hope this finds you doing well. Curious, as a liberal, why have you gunned up? Is it because of the extreme conservatives may at some point become a threat or just a new hobby?" I assume they mean that guns is a new hobby and not that extreme conservatives will become a new hobby. I think, right? Um, so I told him I would answer this in a video. Basically, you know, uh, I grew up with toy guns, cap guns, and then when I got a little older, rubber bullet guns. All toys. You bought them at the local store, and I used to like to target shoot with them. Like set little things up and bing, bing, bing. Pick them off, and it was I enjoyed it. Uh, so, but that's not why I got into guns now as an adult. But I always kind of had that interest. It's just there was something about the target shooting that was the marksmanship that was interesting to me that I got something out of. But at this chapter in my life, why have I gunned up? Well, simply, my wife and I bought a house. And when it was always a goal, one of those list things where when we get the house, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to get a gun for the house. And that's kind of where it started. I bought a Glock 45, a 9mm, but it's the Glock 45. I bought it because it was I was originally going to get the Glock 19, but I didn't like how short the grip was, because it's a compact. It just didn't feel right. I didn't like where my pinky fit on it. It just felt very awkward. So the gentleman at the store recommended the 45 because the 45 is basically the 19 but with a much longer grip. For those of you who don't know much about Glocks, some of the Glocks are parts of other Glocks. For example, the 45, which is what I got, it's the 19 slide with the 17 grip. So the grip's a little longer. It's technically a full-size gun. It's not a compact, it's a full-size gun. So that felt right. That felt nice in my hand. It was like, oh, there's enough surface here, enough real estate to grip, to hold. So I ended up getting that. Now, as a result of getting the Glock, I made it a point to learn everything I could. Right? I wanted to be as responsible with it and knowledgeable and comfortable with it as possible. So I took classes and I started shooting regularly and watching lots and lots and lots of YouTube videos to help understand, to refine what I'm doing and to understand what I'm experiencing. Try to find someone else who's talking about something that I can identify with because I'm recognizing that with myself. So that re-sparked my interest in target shooting, practicing marksmanship and just, target shooting, basically. Keep repeating myself. But, so, like what happens with a lot of gun owners is that one gun becomes two guns, becomes three guns, and so on and so forth. So the whole reason that I got into gunning up had nothing to do with extreme conservatives. To use their verbiage. It had nothing to do with extreme conservatives. It was more so about home protection, honestly. And the thing is that which, you have to learn how you can use such a thing and where what the role that it fits in like a home invasion type of scenario or a break-in, or robbery, burglary, whatever kind of phrasing you want to use. At least in Jersey, I don't think there are any, I think what they call like stand your ground or castle laws. I'm using very specific terminology, so I might be misusing terminology and I might be wrong. New Jersey might have a castle law of some kind. I don't think it does. Castle law being, the person's home is their castle. If you're in it and you're not supposed to be, they can do whatever they want to you. That's the very general interpretation. I'm not a lawyer, but that's a very general interpretation of, castle laws. So, but in Jersey, there is a whole like use of force thing where you can't just shoot somebody because they're in your home, right? Because you don't want them there, because they're stealing your television. You can't shoot them. But what you can do is the gun becomes a line in the sand, meaning, you do not come after me or, my family in any way, shape, or form. Like the minute you give us the impression that you're going to cause harm, you have to, granted, you have to gauge the scenario. If they're coming at you with just the fists, that's all you can really use, right? You can only really use your fists to justifiably deal with the situation. If they come at you with a baseball bat or a knife, then all bets are off and you can open fire because your life is in jeopardy, right? That's the line in the sand. It's pretty much to keep things from getting worse. At least that's the idea, right? To de-escalate a scenario. But that's the whole point or really that's the role that a gun plays in Jersey. And even then, say someone is in the house, they have a knife, they're threatening me from like the other side of the house, like 20 yards away, 15 yards away. If your house is long enough, 25 yards away, at that point, even if they're brandishing a knife at you, they're so far away, they're not a threat. You have to really gauge the situation, which actually kind of plays into me going shooting every week. Because one of the ranges I used to go to, they had a normal like 25-yard range. It's pretty standard, and for pistols, and you start close when you're shooting. You're new at it. You start close because believe it or not, you can still miss a target at 5 yards. It's just one of those things that tends to happen when you're a new shooter. You begin to have a flinch problem. You overcompensate or you do recoil anticipation and you end up shooting and hitting low and left, for example. Usually that's the case, low and left for someone who's right-handed, low and right for someone who's left-handed. But after a while, you want to, if you're getting decent grouping, like your shots are landing on the target within like a good nice little space, little area, you move the target back. You move a 7-yard target, then you go to 10. Then you go to 15. And then you say, screw it, I'm going to 25, right? You want to see if you can hit something at 25. And you want to see how much the trajectory veers at 25 yards, which is kind of what I got into for a period of time. The weird thing is, at least at this one particular range, when they saw someone shooting at 25, it was such a big deal. It was such an unusual thing. And everyone had, not everybody, but a lot of people had a comment on it. Like, oh, you can't shoot someone at 25 yards. Someone at 25 yards. I'm like, well, I'm not shooting someone. I'm shooting a target. And I'm interested in competition shooting. So, yeah, that makes sense that I'm going to try and hit something at 25 yards. Because I want to make sure if I can hit it at 25, I can hit it at 10 or 7 or whatever. I know I'm decent if I can hit something and get decent grouping at 25 yards. But it was always interesting when someone would comment on, the 25-yard distance and how you can't shoot someone at 25 yards. Why would you even practice at 25 yards? I'm like, well, because I want to make sure that I'm good. What the fuck is wrong with that? People are weird. And people are weird, and gun culture can even be weirder. A lot of the people you find in gun culture, which is a different video, new video, other video, all on its own. So to get back to my friend's question, why have I gunned up? Well, it was for the home. And I learned about the gun. I learned how to shoot it, learned how to use it, got better at it, kept doing it. And, I kind of fell in love with doing it. That's why I go shooting every weekend. And it has nothing to do with extreme conservatives. It just doesn't. Yeah, I am not alone as a liberal gun owner. We exist. They exist. There's an online community, liberal gun owners. They have websites. They kind of have their own, in a sense, NRA. And I am not an NRA member, just so that is said. And I'm not a member of Liberal Gun Owners either as a formal organization. Just not. Haven't. May or may not at some point join it, but at the moment I'm not. I am on their Facebook group though. They have a couple different Facebook groups, and they're really good groups. If you are a fellow gun owner and you're liberal, for example, like me, or just a nice person, right? You want to have a place that you can ask honest questions and not get trolled or bullied or laughed at or made fun of, because that's what happens in most of these gun groups. A lot of the gun groups are just full of unfortunate individuals. I'll put it that way. You can ask the most honest question in the world, and I did. I've asked the most honest question in the world, and people just made fun of me on these groups, right? But not to get into that. But if you're online and you want to get in, if you want a good group and be able to ask questions in and not get, and get honest answers, helpful, honest answers, find one of the liberal gun groups. So, but, I have not gunned up for anything other than home defense. I don't intend on getting a concealed carry permit, which are allowed in Jersey. I might pursue it, which I could. I'm pretty confident that I could pass the exam, the qualification. You have to shoot so many. You have to use a qualification target. Looks like a giant bowling pin, and you have to get, I think, 80 out of 100 rounds have to land within this very large area. No, that's no problem. I could do that. Do I ever want to concealed carry? No, thankfully, my life experience has not warranted me the need or desire to have a gun on my person at all times. Not only that, there's a lot of areas in Jersey that you just can't carry your gun. So, and you can't take it off your person and put it in your glove box or something, or even in a safe that is anchored inside your vehicle. You're not allowed to do that. Your concealed carry permit is for you to have a gun on your person. That's it. You can't take it off for comfort. If you're driving, it has to be on your person at all times. That's the point of it. But there's other things to get out of pursuing that kind of avenue of experience and training. You get like the use of force training and all that kind of stuff. So I always think about getting my concealed carry permit, but never using it because I don't really feel the need to have it. But I think there's things in that training that I could get from, that I could get out of that kind of training. So, but as a result of getting the gun for the house, I've actually, fallen in love with shooting and guns, and it's one of my big big hobbies other than my other interests, you know, which are art and occultism. So, what do you know, right? Who would have thought?